There's nobody new here. Thanks. Okay, Gordon, take it away.
Okay, thank you, David. And thank you, everyone, for being patient in this bit of a lapse in our sessions. But we did have a reasonably interesting session with Gary at the helm. And I remember I had a couple of interesting little encounters in that session myself. But anyway, thank you all for being here. It's good to be in your company again. And I hope you're all enjoying this autumn weather, although you may be in far different parts of the world than I am, but we're having a lovely autumn here in the northern part of North America, Canada, and the northern states. And life goes on, as we all know. And I'm sure you've all had life events of one kind or another, as have I. And we'll together join our energies together and practice the art of contact and retrieval, as we've been doing for many months. So, since there's no one new joining us today, let me launch into the regular preamble. I hope you're all relaxed and ready to activate yourselves. I was going to say be activated, but no, you're activating yourselves. So please be relaxed and assume a position that is comfortable to you in your chair or your couch or whatever method of relaxing you have. Please remember that we're not using our physical eyes. We'll be using the eyes of the imagination, the eyes of the etheric or astral body, all those sensing mechanisms. Here we all are together in the eternal moment of right now, choosing to put aside our memories or regrets of yesterday and our plans and perhaps anxieties about tomorrow. Put all of that aside and live in this eternal moment and use the power of being in that eternal moment to move through space and time and make our contacts and conduct our explorations. So please move on up out of your body, out of your physical resting body, up through the room that you are in, up through the ceiling of that room, up through the roof of that building, whatever type of building you are in, and allow yourself to emerge above that building and feel the breezes of the neighborhood around you. It is freeing in itself just getting out of the building that you are in. That's for sure. But let us take advantage of that first step and move into exploratory mode. Please feel free to go anywhere and do anything, whatever strikes your fancy today. And if nothing particularly strikes your fancy, let your guides give you a little nudge and move you in one direction or another. Enjoy your explorations and meet who you will meet and help who you might help. And I wish you all well and enjoy your trip. And we will reconvene in about 15 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. It's time to start coming back. Just take it slow.
Okay.
I think we pretty much got everybody, Gordon.
Okay, thanks, David.
Sure.
I'm still involved myself, so maybe you could ask for people with hands up.
Okay, yep, I'll take it. You go ahead. I think I'd like to start with Adrian, since sometimes he has some time constrictions and I want to make sure that he
Sure.
gets able to say something. So go ahead, Adrian.
Thank you. Today I have the time. So it was a very pleasant meditation, but I couldn't really make a connection. The the only thing I saw is a fox. I don't know
Fox.
why. Fox. Yeah, I don't know why I saw it. Yeah. But for a few seconds it was quite vivid, and then nothing, just blackness. Yeah, usually I meditate, and the last month or 2 months I stopped. I had a surgery, and it threw me off balance. I stopped meditating. I stopped doing my sports, so my skills a bit rusty. I will get back
Yeah.
on track soon, but today I just didn't have the bandwidth to connect. But it was a nice meditation. Yeah,
That's good, Adrian. You know, for your information, it happens to me too. I get real busy. Something pulls me away, and then I don't do it for a while, and I have to get back. So I totally understand what you're saying.
yeah, it happens to me. Like I had a very long streak. Like for 2 years, I did it. I did the spiritual practice every day, and now it stopped. So I need to get back on track.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I felt though is I felt that there is a group field for this class.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a thing, and I felt that I'm connecting to it, and
Oh, great.
I'm
Yeah,
part of it.
you're part of it. Yes, for sure.
I mean,
Okay.
as we sit down and Gordon starts this process, uh, I felt that the group field is being created. Like
Mm-hmm.
it somehow it's real in some
Yeah,
way, and yeah,
that's good to know. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Adrian. It feels like a group field to me too. And we've built it up over the months. It gets what I would call bigger and stronger every time we enter it.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah,
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Adrian.
thanks for listening.
Yeah, sure. Priscilla, why don't you go next?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm afraid that this might disappear like dreams do when you wake up. So I'd like to speak it before it disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't as much fun as the other ones I've had. I'm new at this, okay? This is the fourth time I've had an experience.
Hmm.
16 or 17 months. And of course, I haven't been here every time. Okay, but this is the fourth time in a row. So this is great. Well, I was trying to figure out where I was. I had my horse with me and I got out of the house, out of the building, out of the neighborhood, heading toward a rainbow. I was heading toward a rainbow. And then me and my horse, my spirit guide horse, found ourselves in a rainbow of color. And I didn't know where this was going to go to. So next thing you know, I find myself sliding down the rainbow into a pool of water. And I find myself in a resort, in an ocean beachside resort. And people are sitting around the pool, and it's a pleasant situation, but I'd really rather be down at the beach. So my horse and I go down to the beach, just a short walk, and there's a huddled fellow at the shore, at the edge of the shore, and he says he drowned. He was swimming and he drowned. And I didn't know what to say, really. I was having trouble figuring out what to say, except to say, I wish I could help you. And he said, well, I want to go back in the ocean and swim out instead of drown. I said, I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah.
So I said, well, the sun is setting. You see the sun coming down in the sky? The sun is coming down low. See the sun? Oh, yeah. And then it's going to be dark and dreary here on the ocean. It's on the beach. It's going to be cold. I'm going to be miserable. And I said, took me a long time to figure out what to say. So I said, well, my horse and I are going to sit here with you and try to figure this out. So then I said, how about, we could go back up the hill. There's a lot of lights up there and a lot of good energy. There's people up there having a party. That sounds better than sitting here. So he agrees to walk back up to the party, and my work is done. And he disappears in the crowd.
There you go, Priscilla. That sounds pretty good. Pretty much like a retrieval to me.
Yes, it does to me too, Priscilla.
I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was really thinking, well, this isn't such an easy deal. Let's see what I'm going to tell this guy. Anyhow, yeah. Thank you. Yes, I'm glad to help.
How long did it take you to get into that? I mean, how many minutes, or immediately, or?
No, it took me a while. I had to go back in my house, and I had to get out of my body and get out of my house and get out of my yard. And it took me a while to get into it.
That's fascinating.
So, Priscilla, a little question. My sound went out for maybe 30 seconds of your report. So when you came back on, at least to my ears, you were talking about he wanted to go back to the party. Did you take him to that party, or did he go there under his own steam?
Well, I got the feeling that he originated from the party, went down to swim in the ocean and drowned. I mean, he didn't say that, but that's kind of the feeling I got. So he agreed to go back up the hill. We all walked back up the hill together, the little
Uh-huh.
bluff. I'm
Uh-huh.
not for sure if I suggested to him that he might know some of the people, but he didn't say.
Uh-huh. So he was happy to get back to the party, was he?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean,
Okay, thank you. It was
he,
just that little bit I missed on the soundtrack.
he disappeared,
Uh-huh.
so that was good. And it was a bright, lit up, happy place compared to the dreary, cold beach in the sun setting.
Yes, yes, I understand. Yes. And over the years, Priscilla, I've retrieved people and taken them to these a variety of these beachside resorts with all the usual you know accoutrements, the swimming pools, the tennis courts, all sorts of things, little cafes under the trees. There's lots of them, and they're all over the place. And people seem very happy to get to them. They're like, "Oh, great, a resort." So they're very useful that way because almost everybody likes the idea of going to a resort.
Well, it was right there.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
Okay, I have something little to add to that.
Mm.
So yesterday I was on this group meditation. I organized this Sasquatch group meditation, and
Oh, yeah.
the one who was leading the meditation, in order to get to the place where they are, we had to go to the Rainbow Bridge, and at the end of the Rainbow Bridge was a pool. So I went through the same identical process as Priscilla did today. I don't know how this happened. Maybe by joining the group field, I brought with me the Rainbow Bridge. I don't know, but it's very interesting.
That's really good. Actually, the Rainbow Bridge is where the animals go when they die.
Mhm.
They cross the
Well,
Rainbow Bridge, and you had a horse, but he didn't leave you, thank God.
and I saw a fox in today's meditation, so
Yeah, there you go.
maybe it's connected.
Mhm.
Oh, very much.
But I was really surprised to the same thing as yesterday.
I've seen those connections before, Adrian, in the dream group that I'm in. For some reason, me and this other guy that's in it, we will have very similar dreams. I'll talk about it, and then he goes on, well, that's almost exactly what I had too, that I was going to present. So it has to do with the energy and frequencies and all that being on the same level. So yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a good comeback to meditation.
Well, would that be called a synchronicity?
Yeah, we can call it that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Gordon, you seem to be pretty busy today. You want to go next?
Oh, okay, sure. I got this tip that I should be heading off to somewhere in the Ukraine. So I said nothing. So I said, okay, I'll go. And it was almost like they had a little project for me, but they wouldn't tell me what it was. So I get there, and it's there's a group of people, maybe 20 people, all dead, of course, and I think mostly soldiers. And what was interesting was it was a mixed group, some Russian, some Ukrainian. And there may have been people we've been hearing that there's other countries have been drafting in troops. I've heard rumors about Chinese and North Korean at various times. I'm not saying I saw any, but I know it was a mixed group, but all sort of in battle fatigues and ripped clothing, and some of them still sort of wearing their wounds that killed them. And so I think the challenge was that they wanted to give me, can you retrieve a mixed group without them sort of squabbling and arguing? So I felt that vibration. I thought, okay, here, this is the issue here. And why they were all standing together, I'm not quite sure. But they weren't fighting, but there was a sort of sense of, ooh, standing apart in little knots and, not being a cohesive group, but somehow standing together out of a lack of knowing what to do. And so I talked to them, and when somebody said, well, what are you doing here? So I tried to explain. And the usual sort of don't quite trust this guy. What's he got? What's he got up his sleeve? What kind of a trickster is he? I'm sure the once one national group would think I'm going to take them somewhere where they're going to be imprisoned, and the other national group would, mostly Russians and Ukrainians, but not completely, would think I was going to do the same to them. So I made it plain by sort of waving my arms in the air and raising my voice. No, we're going to a place for all of you. There's a place where I can take you and you can rest and relax. It's called a reception center. And when you get, rested and relaxed, you can make your next move from that place. And I said, you don't all have to go to the same place. You can go to wherever you want to go. And but you need to come here and sort of get a fresh set of clothes and a nice meal and the sort of thing. So that was a bit of hubbub around them as they sort of looked at me and thought, is this guy telling the truth? Can this really be true? That kind of stuff. And so I let them sort of chat amongst themselves for a while, and then I reissued my offer. And sort of, because it was a fairly large group, I'm kind of waving my arms and using a fairly loud voice. And eventually I said, okay, are you guys ready to go? Can we go? Can we go now? Are you settled? That sort of impatient sort of thing. And there seemed to be a general acceptance that was what was going to happen. So I threw a large, obviously mental creation. So it sort of looked like a big white parachute. It was like, I don't know why it looked like that. It just did. And I threw it over all of them so that they'd be joined together. And almost like you've heard me say a bubble before. This seemed more like a sort of a parachute that went over all their heads. And I told them, okay, we're going to go now. And I expressed the thought that we would go to a reception center, the one I had described, that would cater to everybody. So we get there, obviously, very quickly. And, I throw off the bubble so that they can see. And I said, okay, go over there. See that place over there? And it was quite an impressive reception center that had a little more impressive than most. A lot of them look like refugee places with lots of tents and fires going, and that they tend to go for the big tent thing. This was more like a building, and it had doors in front of it, and several doors, and different languages above each door. And I assumed one was Russian, one was Ukrainian, but there was definitely another language there, and I wasn't sure what it was. And that seemed to spark a bit of interest in them, that they could see these doors, big white glassy doors so I said, just go over there and you'll go in and get settled, and then you can decide what you're going to do next. I said, don't worry about it, you'll all be fine. And somehow I managed to get them to believe me, and off they went. And as they walked away from me, and this wasn't me doing this, I think maybe the guides inside were doing this to fulfill the promise. Some of their raggedy old army uniforms or old clothes and bashed up boots and that kind of a thing, they were replaced by new ones, nice shiny new ones. And they thought that was pretty cool. It was kind of like magic. And I want to emphasize, I didn't express a desire to do that. Someone else did it. And I think it was a little experiment on the part of the guides to see what they can do to make people cheer up all of a sudden. So giving them new clothes, just almost like a click of the fingers, I could feel the little bubble of excitement as they walked away. A couple of them looked back at me, and I said, no, keep going. You don't need me anymore. Just go. And off they went. And then I came back to what we would call home base, and I said, okay, is there anything local to do? And somebody said, yeah, we got a couple of motorcyclist guys that have died recently. You want to go to one of them? So again, I was walking up and down with a motorcyclist that had died, as I did a couple of weeks ago, and he was angry, as they often are, and there was a bit of wreckage, bit of the car, bit of the motorcycle, hadn't all been cleared away, but he couldn't see his body, and he was angry about it. And I think because he was badly injured and killed, his body was taken away quite quickly, but he didn't know that. So I said, I want to see my body. It seemed to be a big deal for him, and wasn't really interested in my promise of going to heaven or whatever. So I asked, quietly asked the guide to take us to whatever hospital where his body was. So the next thing we know, we're there, and I thought to myself, well, he's probably in the morgue already, but I didn't know. But the guides did something tricky. They went sort of backwards in time to where a couple of doctors were examining him and making sure he actually was deceased, so that the proper forms could be filled out. And it was in some sort of operating room where they treat badly injured people. And I said, okay, here's your body. Want to have a look? And it was pretty mashed up and messy. And he was like not happy about that, but it seemed to sort of partly convince him that yes, that was his body, and yes, he was dead. But he still wasn't really convinced. And he said, so a guide sort of moved us forward in time in another room in the building, which looked more like a morgue. And as we got to the morgue, I'm thinking of, these drawers in this cold room that they put the corpses in. And for some reason, I got a little worried about, I don't know how to open one of those doors, How do you open one of those doors when you're a spirit? And it might sound funny that I would say that, but I did have that thought. And so I asked the guide, who I didn't see, I said, can you get that drawer open so we can have a look? So a guide pulled some little stunt and the drawer was open. There was nobody there. And we walk up and the sheet gets pulled off and he looks at himself and he's been cleaned up a little bit. He's not as bashed up and bloody as he was before. And he looks at himself and somehow the realization hits, it's him. And then he starts to cry and he leans on my shoulder and is crying. It's a man of mid-20s, I would say. And so the message got through. He knew he was dead. And that seemed to be the big issue. He didn't really believe it. So I got this little message that some kind of grandmother figure was waiting for him, because I think his parents are both still alive. And I said this to him, you got a grandmother up in the heaven worlds? And he sort of nodded in between his tears. And I said, well, just see that light over there? Just walk toward that light and you'll see her. And that's what he did. And my job was over, as we say.
You were quite busy.
Funny how that happens, eh? Some days, you try to do stuff and you can't do anything. And then some other days you're like whipping about all over the place.
Plus, it shows that you can go back to these, because I interrupted you, and we did yeah.
Yeah, when you asked about it, David, I was just trying to talk him into. We're in the morgue, and he was crying on my shoulder, and I was quite touched by that, because people don't often do that, especially men. And so I needed a minute or so to calm him down and get him to move on to where I thought the grandmother was. Now, I can't even say it was a grandmother. It may have been an astral actor. That may have been a great aunt or somebody related to him. And but she did a convincing act, the grandmother act, and he went off with her, looking quite rude. So that's what happened there.
Thank you, Gordon. Anybody have any comments on that? It's very detailed.
Yeah, I know.
I got one that I'll go next. It's not very detailed. It's short. And as most of you know, I was out of town for the last 2 months, and I was on a cruise ship for 3 weeks, the last part of my trip. And I had retrieval on the boat, which I'll give right now. I had 2 of them, actually. And I'm just going to tell you one. And I've said before, the way it works for me is sometimes it works the way that Gordon does it, and everybody else here, where I can go through the roof and then have my vision and complete the crossover that way. And another way is I have a dream, and I've talked about it before. This is just a dream that I had, and when I do my retrievals, I always see the death, what happened. And so on this one, it's another one where I saw the death, and as you've heard of me before, I try to talk to the person after the death and have them see the light, or there's many ways that you can have them cross over. And so on this one, when I see the death on a dream, it's a character that I've never seen before, or it's me playing the character. It's turning into more now that it's me playing the character. So on this one, I'm playing the character. And so here's what happened. I'm the character, and I wrote it on my phone here. I'm convicted of committing a murder that I did not do and sentenced to the electric chair. I'm content almost to the end because I know that I was innocent. I got extremely nervous when I was sitting in the chair. And on a side note, I felt all the emotions, lots and lots of emotions that this guy had that was about ready to die. And then what happened was they counted down from 3, 1, 3, 2, 1. They pulled the switch and I awoke. And so I was laying in bed and I was trying to talk to the spirit that had been electrocuted and had died. And all I got was a name. I got the name Adam, Adam. And I said, "Is that your name?" He goes, "Well, if you don't believe it, why don't you Google it and see?" And in the morning, I did Google it. And there was somebody, also this guy was a black man. And I forgot to tell you that I had found that out. And I put something in the Google, like, was there someone named Adam that was executed when unfairly? And his name was Adam, and he was a black man. And only one thing came up in that Google, and there was a man named, I can't remember, I didn't write it down, John Adam, somebody Adam, that was electrocuted in 1985. Jesse Jackson and some of these other black guys tried to help him out, but they wouldn't believe it, and he was executed. So I thought that I'd just share that with you today. Okay.
Sorry.
Any comments?
No, I was going to say, wow, that's really fabulous. Fabulous, David.
Yeah.
Holy crow. This whole thing for me is all about confirmation, and you got it really, really big one there. I thought that was amazing that even Google had the name. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. Why
Yeah,
don't
it's
you
good
go
when
next,
they're-
Mary? Go ahead.
Okay. I had first of all, when I went up through the clouds, I was riding my red dragon, which is his name is Phoenix, and he his purpose is to blow fire to remove toxins in people's bodies. He's a health dragon. Anyway, I was riding him and he just took me up because for some reason I couldn't get up through the clouds. So I came on his back and then got off, and then he disappeared. And then I started asking, does anybody need any help? And Diane Keaton came through, and she was dressed like she was at Annie Hall, like with the white men's shirt and the black vest and the tie and the plaid pants and the black hat. And she says, "What are you yelling about?" And I said, I'm not yelling. I'm not yelling. Do you need some help? And she said, "Yes, I would like to know why I'm here." And so we started walking together, and I said, "You have transitioned into death." I said, "Aren't you aware that there's no more pain in your chest now?" She died from pneumonia. Yes, I noticed. Don't tell me what I'm feeling. And I said, why are you so angry? And she said, because Woody and Al are crying and they're very upset and I can't understand why. Well, I said, and this of course is Al Pacino and Woody Allen. Well, I said, some people don't know that life, your soul goes on after you depart. And they loved you. They loved you as a lot of others did as well. And they're very sad that you're no longer on the earth plane. Well, that's just nonsense, she said. Not really, I said. Anyway, wait until you go through that door. And I pointed to a glowing door. And why do I need to go there? I said, because it's your next step. And come on, I'll open the door for you. And with that, I opened the door and a large beam of light filled up the room and it hit her face. And I looked at her face and she went from anger to joy and she walked through. She smiled and she went through. But oh my goodness, she was like, wow, you're you're a real bitch. I mean, sorry. Wow, that was different. And if I also can talk about another thing, David, you brought up
Yes.
about your dream.
Yes.
Um, I had one this week that was really interesting to me because I had forgotten about it, and um, I'll just tell you briefly about it. It's not very long. David
Mhm.
Cassidy died on November 23rd, 2017, at 67 years old. Shortly after his death, I had this dream or a visitation. He was in his 20s. He was standing behind John Denver. And I went up to him and I kind of put my arm around John to grab David's hand. And John stopped me and said, he's with us, Mark. He's with us now, Mark. Like, don't do anything. He's with us. And so I was kind of a little put off with that. But then the scene went black. And then in my vision, I saw a 1950s television set, the one with the rabbit ears
Yep.
and the antenna or whatever. And David's face was right in the middle of it. And this was very, very big in the screen in my vision. And it started to get smaller and smaller and smaller as he moved away into the stars. And then it disappeared. So then, so that was back. Oh, wow. That was back shortly after he died. So that would have been in 2017. Anyway, the other night I had a strange vision that I woke up to because all of a sudden I'm walking past this bench, and on this bench is David Cassidy in his 20s, and he's wearing a green electric green shirt that I remember. It was green t-shirt, very, very bright, and jeans. And I just walked by the bench and just kept walking. And he went, hey. And I went, what? Turned and he said, I know you. And I said, no, you don't. I said, we've never met. And he said, yes, we have. He said, I know you. And I said, no, you haven't. You're probably thinking of somebody else. And for the life of me, the name Leanne came up. I said, it was probably Leanne who you're thinking about. And he said, no, it was you. And that was the end of it.
Was that a dream, did you say, or just a vision?
Well, I thought it was a dream. I thought it was a dream because I woke up afterwards and I thought, yeah, why would I have that? That's such a strange thing to have. And then it wasn't until I really stopped and really thought about it that yes, we obviously had met back in around 2017 after he died because of the interaction with John Denver.
Mm-hmm.
So we had met. I just didn't remember. So I don't know. I thought it was a dream. To me, it felt like a dream, but it could have been a vision because I wasn't planning it. And that's what I find with my visions is that they're never planned. They just happen. They just come through, and you feel them and you see them, and it's like, oh, like where did that come from? So it could have been a vision. You might be right.
Well, that's how it is with me when I get these dreams. I mean, I never have it planned at all.
Right. Okay. So then that would be a vision for you, right?
Yeah, if instead of a dream vision, I just call them the same thing.
Okay. Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Nice. I'm just happy to hear that I'm not the only one that happens to.
Yeah.
There's somebody else that happens to too.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Larice, how'd you like to say something to us? Are you there?
Yeah,
There.
I just had a little bit of trouble unmuting.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I had no idea, like no prior, plans, or nobody told me what we were going to do or anything. So I was just floating around up above my building, and I felt these beings like surround me, and they escorted me somewhere. And I found myself in the corridors of a hospital. And I said, "Where are we?" And they said, "Pennsylvania." That was all they said. So I don't know where it was in Pennsylvania, but the first person I was taken to was there was this hospital bed, and there was like a living earthly person in it, and there was also this spirit. And so I started talking to the spirit, and I said, because he seemed pretty miserable and pretty unhappy, and I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Oh," he said, I'm just tired of this. I just want to die and get out of here. Like he said, "I even have to share a bed now with somebody, and nobody ever listens to me. They don't hear a word I say, anything I ask for." And he went on and on and on. And I said, "Are you in any pain?" And he thought about it a little bit. He kind of indicated that he was, but I think it was sort of remembered like he's supposed to be. So I said, "Well, um, I said, let's go. There's another room in this hospital where people go when, we don't talk about it, because if people want to die, that's not a really very popular thing to talk about. So let's go in there and see what we can do." And so we had, we created it, and it was like this. The guys, the spirits that were surrounding me were, I don't know what they were when they first came, but they're orderlies now. Okay, so they take this guy into um, this room, and they get him all comfortable in this bed and everything. And then I started asking him questions. And I said, "Well, when was the last time you ate?" And he thought about it, and he thought about it, and he couldn't really remember very well. I said, "Well, when was the last time you used the bathroom?" Well, he couldn't remember that either. And I said, "Well, um, maybe he would like to move to another hospital, so you could just kind of die in peace, like just let go." And he said, "Oh, is there such a thing?" And I said, "Yeah, there is. I mean, there's places where they, like kind of like hospices where they can just make you comfortable, and then you can just and then he got kind of nervous, and he's like, "Well, I really don't know what to do. I just don't want to be here." And I said, "Oh, don't worry about it, because you'll understand. They'll give you instructions if you need them." So the orderlies just came and got him, and like they transferred him over to a hospital that was in the spirit world, one of those hospitals they have. So then we went and looked for some other people that were in that same situation, and there were several of them. And one of them, well, the two next people I'm going to talk about, they were the opposite of the guy I just described. They did not want to die no matter what. It's like they couldn't even entertain that. So they weren't. I mean, they thought they weren't. They were like hanging on. One of them was, because I asked them, "Why don't you want to?" Because it's pretty, like, your body's made you pretty miserable lately, right? And they had to agree with that. But they're like, okay, one of them didn't want to die because he had been taking care of his wife, and um, and I kind of quick asked about that with the spirits that were with me, and they said his wife already passed. So we were just talking to him about it, and we made him aware that no matter what he wanted or didn't want, he wasn't in his body anymore, and he couldn't get back in it. It was already gone. It had been taken, and he didn't have that option to get back in his body. But he did have the option to go where his wife was. Well, he was all fine with that. It's like, okay, yeah. So they took him off, and then the next guy that I worked with didn't want to die because he was afraid he was going to go to hell. He was really afraid he was going to go to hell. And so we talked about that for a while, and he told me a few things, and I could see why he was afraid he would go to hell, but that's not what these are about. So I said, I understand why you're afraid, but what if there was another way to do it? Like, what if you could just transfer to another hospital and they'd help you sort things out there? Like, you don't necessarily have to go to hell. I know they tell you that, and I know that a lot of people think that, but there is really, you can kind of, sneak through the back door, and you don't have to really go to hell. You could go to this other hospital. And he kind of thought about that. And I said, well, nobody listens to you here. They don't hear you. You don't, and I named off all the things that happen to people when they don't have a body anymore. And he was like, yeah, I know. It's pretty awful. So I had him talked into that. So they took him off to a hospital in the spirit world. And then I came back.
I'd say you're pretty good at convincing these souls.
It's kind of fun. Yeah, I don't really, things just occur to me. I think I have a lot of help.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was like 3 that you helped there on separate occasions.
Yeah. They're all the same hospital, but 3 different people.
Yeah. Sounds like we all had some pretty good ones today. Go ahead, Priscilla.
Larice, that's some pretty clever scheming that you get these orderlies to come along and take them to another hospital. Clever thinking there.
Well, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been their idea, like the orderlies' idea, actually, because they surrounded me at the very beginning and they knew where they were going to take me. So it may have had a lot to do with them.
But were they orderlies at the beginning?
Well, they could be anything.
Sure. I heard you say they turned into.
Yeah, I don't know what they were. I don't know what to tell you about that, because when I first connected with them, they surrounded me, and I wasn't aware of what they would appear like. I was only aware of their energy. And it felt like warm and sort of encompassing, and they're, come on, we got somewhere to go. And so I had no problem going with them, but I can't tell you anything about what they were. I don't think they even bothered much, because they know I can't see them in the physical way that people would. Like, I don't bother with that stuff, especially with spirits. Like, I have to concentrate to know what somebody's appearance is. I can find out, but it's not the first thing I think of. So there was like maybe at least three of them, maybe 4. I don't even know. And they surrounded me right from the beginning. So I think they had the plan.
Good plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, good plan. I like the way that worked out. Very good.
Can I ask you a question, Larice, like I asked before? When we start the meditation, do you get this immediately, or does this take a while to work for you too?
It takes a while, because I have to remove my focus from this physical world. Mm-hmm. And I have a tendency to be like all enmeshed in it and spinning my own wheels and junk and grinding my gears and stuff that some people do here. So I have to remove myself, somewhat from that in order to engage. But I think that, my experience is almost like there's a window somewhere in my consciousness that opens, and then all this other stuff is just there, and like it might be constant if I didn't have a boundary. So it's just a matter of repositioning my focus mostly.
And how do you reposition your focus?
Well, I have to, stop all the clamoring thoughts and everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not that easy. Like today, I was thinking about a bunch of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Kept having to, stop already. And then just for, I don't always do this, but I do it in this meditation mode. I floated up above the building, and just to get myself, clear of symbolically, like clear of all this other stuff that was going on in my head. And I just tried to enjoy just floating and drifting up there. And then I said, who wants to help me today? Because I have no idea, where to go or anything. And then came, and then after I'd gotten it reasonably clear and I was just floating around up there, then came these beings. And at that point, they were like energy beings. They had a really warm, supportive energy. And they just kind of wrapped themselves around me.
So you didn't get the lady that you've worked with before?
No, I don't always get her. I was even talking to her before we met today, because I talk to her a lot now. She didn't come this time, but she often does. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Does anybody else have any comments or anything that they want to say? Marg?
Just that when Larisse was telling her story, I just saw a streak of light go by you, Adrian. It went down. It was like an orb or something. It was a streak of white light that went down to your shoulder. It's probably on your left side, because as I'm looking at you, it's on my right as I look at you, but I think it could have been on your. It's here? Right across the pit. Yes, right across the picture. That's it. Right across the picture. And it went from the top on down on a 45-degree angle. It just shot down. It was like a star.
Interesting.
That's it. Sorry. Okay. Stanley has to go, doesn't he?
Thanks for that, Mark.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning me, but unfortunately, it's not something that I can always voluntarily do. Sometimes, tonight, as an example, I tried my darndest to get out, and on one occasion, I thought I had actually unlocked, and there was a thump, and I was back. I could feel everything going, but that's I don't know whether I'm trying too hard or what, but I find that of a nighttime, late at night, I can drift away at times, but not like I used to be able to these days. I don't know why, but no, I've got nothing to offer, unfortunately, except the talent of recording things.
That's we need you for that, Stanley.
Yep. That's perfectly okay.
And you're not alone, because I go through these things too. Yep. Like today, I tried, and I got out briefly where I saw a stage someplace, and then that was it. So if I go back at my history, it never stays the same. It's up and down,
Yeah.
You are still feeding the group field, even if you.
Yeah, that's right. The group, we got that at least. That's right. Yep.
Yes, I think I was quite interested when you mentioned that, Adrian, because I did sense something going on that what wasn't noticeable before.
Very nice.
So I will remember that and try something slightly different next time.
Yeah.
Usually
Priscilla,
when I start the meditation, Priscilla, okay, I will wait. to
Yeah,
Priscilla.
just a quick comment to Larice. I like your line. This is a good line now. Who wants to help me today?
yeah, it is good.
Who wants to help me today? I need help. Who's going to help me today? Thank you, Larice.
Not only can we help, who can we help? It's who can help me.
Right,
Right,
Right.
which we need.
Flip
right.
the script.
Go ahead, Adrian.
So, what I wanted. Yeah. So when usually I start, I always feel like today nothing is going to happen. I sit down, meditate, and after a few minutes, something just happens and it starts. But I rarely have the confidence in the beginning that something will happen. So I just sit, I just let go, and sometimes it happens. Also, I wanted to ask Gordon about a thing that has been on my mind. And I'm a chess fan, and I play chess every day. And so there is this guy, Daniel Naroditsky, Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky, died yesterday. It was probably suicide, and I was thinking maybe about connecting to him, but I actually tried it today, but it didn't work. And are there any nuances of connecting to famous people? Like I felt that he has so many connections in his life that I, who have never even met him, it's just not important enough of a connection to be able to connect with him.
Well, Adrian, I get the feeling I read about this young man dying in some headline somewhere. I didn't really know any of the details, but your love of chess would certainly give you a vibrational entry to where he's at, because whatever he's doing or has done or how he feels about himself, if he was a grandmaster, his love of chess will just continue. And I mean, he may be assaulted by feelings of shame and regret and foolishness or whatever, or anger, any number of negative emotions. But I still think your love of chess can be used as a bridge to where he's at, wherever he is.
Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps. And an interesting thing that when Mark said that she saw that orb, I was thinking of him. So I'm maybe just a coincidence, but interesting thing.
No coincidences. Good. Very nice.
Yeah. So yeah, give it a go again, Adrian, whenever you feel relaxed enough. I'm sure you'll be able to connect with him. And like I say, I think it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle if he committed suicide. There'll be all kinds of negative feelings about whatever it was that drove him to that. But,
yeah, well, it's still a secret why he died, but I just think that probably it was suicide.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure you'll think of different things to do when you make contact with them, which I'm sure you will. And just remind them, if you don't think of it, there's plenty of chess in heaven.
Yeah.
There'll be chess clubs all over the place. You bet your bottom dollar they'll be there, just like everything else.
Yeah.
So you have seen chess clubs in the afterlife?
I've seen recreation centers where people do all that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
Just like you would have a recreation center in any community here, you have them there in various small towns and villages or bigger towns. And on some of the levels that are close to Earth, the games that are provided for are like the ones that people already know how to play. Table tennis, tennis, chess, checkers, bingo, it's all there. So because when people first get over, they kind of want to continue on doing what they like to do.
Uh-huh.
There's more elevated stuff later on, but the recreation centers I've seen, first of all, they look just like the ones here, slightly spiffed up and shiny or whatever, but they're designed to make people feel comfortable. And regular chess sets and others that are carved out of rare materials that would be too expensive, ivory or any number of rare materials that you couldn't get your hands on Earth, but there they are in heaven because they look really cool. And how you see various well, certainly in North America I see them. I don't know about where you live, Adrian, but in parks and
Hungary.
whatnot, you'll see. Sorry, yeah, Hungary. Big in the middle of a park, there'll be a big concrete table with a large checkerboard on it, where men will bring their own chess men and sit down on a nice day and play chess. And because it's a big chess table, as it were, it's made of concrete usually, the ones I've seen, people can stand around and watch. And they often do.
Very
So
nice.
I've seen those too.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah. Like I say, your love of chess, I didn't know you had a love of chess until today, but that will connect you for sure.
Yeah.
Like you've seen a lot of my YouTube videos where I talk to dead musicians, Adrian. Well, that's because I love the music that they made when they were on Earth. So it connects me to them because I have a strong, regardless of their personality faults or their little issues that they may have one way or another, I love their music. And that connects me to them quite easily, I would say. And that's the connecting factor.
Yeah, I was really surprised when you could connect with Robert Bruce. I was also a big fan of Robert Bruce. And,
oh yes, right. Well,
and
obviously,
yeah, I
Robert
saw
was
your
a
YouTube video. Yeah, he wasn't a musician; he was a projector like you. So
well,
yeah, common
yes.
thread there.
So years ago, as I said in one of the videos, years ago, I had email contact with him. I said, because he was quite open. And the first time I said, "Hey, Robert, can you give me some advice on this issue?" This is like, I don't know, 15 years ago at least. And I had various groups in my home at various times, weekend seminars, yada yada. The same home that I live in now, but I, I I was interested in when I did a group meditation like we're doing here on Zoom, but all these 8 or 10 people in a room together, and I would lead them to go out of their bodies and project. And I was never quite sure how many of them were getting out of their bodies. And I asked Robert his opinion, and he was quite free. And he said, "Yeah, when I do that, he has weekend seminars at various places, and he might have 50 people in a room because he was quite well known by that point." And he said, I think he said about 80% of them get out of their bodies, but they don't realize it. They don't know. He said, but I can look at them and see that they're out of their bodies. So we had a few interactions of that nature, and he was very friendly and just treated me just like another guy that does what he does. There was no sense of I'm more famous than you or who are you to talk to me or whatever. He was a very cool guy, and he even used those little phrases that Australians use, like "G'day, mate." It was so cool. I never thought of that, and so that connected me to him many years ago, and I look at his posts and see various things he'd done. And when he passed, I thought, no, it's up to me. I'm gonna go get him because his followers are too depressed. That's what I felt right away. So I contacted him very quickly, and there he was. But again, it's that we do the kind of same thing. So there was a connection there, even though it was a bit of an old connection. It was still a connection.
Yeah, I was a bit depressed too when he died. It was so sudden. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I knew he'd projected so many times when he was on Earth. I didn't think he'd have any problem at all.
Hmm.
He probably went right to some place where he'd visited many times, some little favorite place in heaven. So yeah, I didn't worry about it. But
Thanks.
you know,
Very,
you may
very,
have
very
your work,
interesting. Yeah.
Adrian, you may have your work cut out for you with this young chess guy. He may be, I get the sense, quite depressed and angry at himself, but I'm sure you can deal with it. I'm sure you can.
Hmm.
I've got great confidence in your abilities.
All right. I will try project this night then.
Here you go. So guess what, guys? We're going to meet again in 2 weeks. It's the first Wednesday in November, November 5th. You'll be getting an email.
Oh, November the 5th, that's a big day.
What's going on then? Something in Canada?
Oh,
Or?
Remember,
it's a big
remember
thing.
the 5th of
Guy
November.
Fawkes Day. You don't know about Guy Fawkes Day, David?
No.
It celebrates a guy called Guy Fawkes in 1605 who tried to blow up the Houses of Parliament and kill everybody in it. And as usual with Britain, it was a religious thing. The ruling family and the Parliament were Protestant, and the Guy Fawkes and his compadres were Catholic and wanted to return Britain to a state of Catholicism. So they tried to blow up Parliament, but the plot was discovered, and they all got put to jail and killed. But it's been celebrated for years in Britain, called Guy Fawkes Night.
No, that's the first I heard of it.
Yeah, they have big bonfires. I'm sure Stanley knows all about it.
Oh, yes. Last night and the night before, I thought people were practicing because the whole evening was taken up with big firework displays from looking across the road, for example. I thought one or two of the houses were actually practicing. And then I got told that there is another imported religion that has another date around about now. And that was what was going on. But yes, on the 5th, I'm sure that you'll be, if I have the sound on, you'll hear the noise.
Okay, then I'll know what it is.
Oh, yes.
Stanley, that's funny you would say that because 2 nights ago here in our quiet little neighborhood, all of a sudden there was fireworks about 4 houses down. And like
Well,
a fairly expansive display of fireworks that went on for about a half an hour.
yeah.
And we didn't know what it was.
Well, I am aware that the houses that I was talking about have just been sold and bought by people from elsewhere. Not natives, I should emphasize. That's all.
Yeah, so isn't that funny? Because Cynthia
Yes.
and I are looking at pretty nice fireworks, going, "Oh man, look at that!"
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was obvious it was only about 4 houses down the street, and like I say, it was a big deal of a display.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
thought, oh, it's got to be some other culture. They must be celebrating something.
Yes, yes.
All right, Stanley, you can stop the recording, please.
Okay.